Pessoal, vamos começar então, né? Eu vou apresentar aqui o professor em inglês, né, para começar a nossa palestra. Eu passei uma lista de presença. Por favor, escrevam novo. Quem for convidado, por favor, coloque o nome e o e-mail também na lista de presença, para a gente poder compartilhar o material que o professor Hans vai deixar para nós, tá bom? Então, hi everybody, né? I have a pleasure to introduce Professor Hans. He has come from Sweden, and as I talked to you, he will discuss about introduction to life cycle assessment. So, let's give him a warm welcome.
Obrigado.
It's yours.
Obrigado. É muito gosto visitar você. So, actually, I'm a university professor from Borås, Sweden. I don't know how much you knew about Sweden, but Sweden is a country very far in the north. Actually, the polar circle passed here. So above the polar circle, in summer we have no night, and in winter, no day. so it's completely opposite. You are very close to the polar circle. We live very close to the equator. We live very close to the polar circle. And Sweden has 4 seasons actually. So we have winter with snow, ice on the lakes. We can walk on the lakes, no problem. And we make a hole in the ice sometimes in the winter for those who like fishing. They make a hole in the ice and do fishing. And some like spa, they take a sauna, and after the sauna you can guess what they do? Make a bigger hole to take a bath in the lake. It's relatively common actually. But I've just done once. Actually, you don't feel that it's cold, but it was more like that. So. But some people do very frequently. But they start with the sauna, and after it seems that the coolness closes in somewhere. I didn't feel cold. And some like to also roll in the snow or something like that. So there's a crazy people. Otherwise, snow, Europe is not so.
Professor Hans, I think it's working now, the touch screen.
Okay, and how so?
You can use.
And how does I do?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
not used to it.
You can touch in the screen and
slide.
Yeah.
And how do I go back?
I don't know. Let me see.
Oh, you're just crossing more and more forward.
Aí, anterior ali, apareceu.
Tá
Clica na
desregulado.
tela. Aí,
Yeah.
anterior.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what
It's
it
very
is.
difficult to do this. Great.
So, in Europe it's very small this very small country. Do you know which it is?
Denmark.
Denmark, yeah. Then we have Copenhagen. So I know that we collaborate with Hamburg. Hamburg is maybe 1 hour from where we live. London 1 hour, Munich 1 hour, Paris maybe 2 hours. So it's not a big distances in Europe. But it's 2 hours up here too. And the same distance. Okay, I'll take the next slide. Oh, so it's about the same distance as you see to the far north of Sweden, to the south, to Italy. So therefore we are a very, very long country. Otherwise, Sweden is roughly 10 million people. Well, and you are 200 in Brazil. It's
Yeah.
not so not so big now, but bigger than Rio Grande do Norte.
Yeah.
Maybe
2
Ceará.
point.
Ceará is 10 maybe. Otherwise, Sweden has a lot of lakes. All over the country is lakes. Maybe, probably this is depending on that we had an ice age. 10,000 years ago, it was 2 kilometers with ice above every lake. Hopefully we will wait some time for the next. But we have a lot of forests, a lot of lakes and rivers. We are a part of European Union. And as I mentioned, Nordic weather. And Sweden has a svenska. I Sverige så talar vi svenska, vi använder inte engelska utan det är ett helt annat språk. You know, Europe has a lot of languages, as you know. You know, almost every country in Europe has its own language. So it's maybe 30 different languages. So therefore, of course, we have to speak English. Otherwise, I can just talk with other Swedes. And they are very few. But we understand Norwegian very well. Danish, we understand about the same as you understand Spanish. It's very similar. Finnish is completely different. I don't understand a word. Portuguese is much closer. Much closer, actually. So it's a very strange language. We have a king and queen. And you know where the queen is born? Some of you? Where is the queen of Sweden born? Some of you must know. You don't? She's born in Brazil. She's from Sao Paulo. She's Brazilian mother and a German father, but they lived for a long time in Sao Paulo. So she is fluent in Portuguese, and she does many actions, humanitarian actions in Brazil actually. She is a lot of children welfare and working with that. But although the king has no influence of our democracy, it's more like a symbol of the country. Otherwise, of course, he couldn't have the possibility to stay in a modern country. But he are a symbol from the country, he market our country and things like that. And we did never join the euro. So if you go to Sweden, you have to change to svensk krona. So we had a referendum in Sweden about if we would like to join the union. We did, but we never would like to join the euro. We have a stable country concerning birth rate, extremely low infant mortality rate, a relatively high life expectancy. We are very export oriented. So half of the Swedish production actually are exported. And the second industrial city of Sweden is Sao Paulo. So we have 300 Swedish companies in Sao Paulo. Scania, Ericsson, Saab, SKF, Sandvik, you name it. We have so many international companies in our country. Like, probably you know some of them. Maybe you know Scania or Volvo. Of course you know Tetra Pak.
Yeah.
Electrolux, some of you have Electrolux. Sandvik, SKF. You don't have this company and this company in Brazil yet. Maybe you know H&M if you have been abroad. H&M is like almost the same size as Zara that you have. IKEA is the biggest furniture company in the world. It was actually started by a boy to a farmer. He started to sell pencils. And today he is a billionaire in the biggest furniture warehouse in the world. Otherwise, Sweden has a high education level. Swedes are also a little bit crazy. We have a very flat management. So normally the boss don't tell you what to do. They tell you which goal we want to receive. So it's very much delegated, the decisions are very much delegated to the people. So that's very much Swedish management differ. And Sweden are also famous to very high gender equality. So when the Swedish people today get a child, it's common to share the time with the child between the man and the female. This is also very special, Swedish. And it's also partly financed by the government. You will keep a good part of your salary, at least for a year. And to get all the money, the man had to stay some time. I think it's 3 or 4 months, at least with the child. So this is special. And this will, of course, give the female the same opportunity to do a career, to become a manager, and so on. So Sweden is a crazy country. But on the same way, as we have succeeded to have a good welfare, I would say we have succeeded to keep a good environment and a good economic growth. I think it's possible to have a welfare system and to have a good economy. I don't think it's the problem. And also to take care of the environment. So today we have a very low level of poverty. And we have high taxes. But we really believe that they go to a social welfare system. Education is free, healthcare is cheap, I pay 30 eyes something when I go to a doctor. And then no difference if it's heart operation or a small cold, you pay the same. Childcare is also universal. You have the right to have childcare. And we also have a clean environment. We have many famous music groups. At least those two are famous. Roxette and ABBA. Probably some of the others too. But something that no one believes when I tell you, that Sweden was actually the Europe's poorest country during the 19th century. More poor than Portugal or Bulgaria or Romania or Hungary or which country you think. Sweden was actually the poorest country. 25% of the Swedish people immigrated, depending on poverty. Mainly to US, but even some went to Brazil. Mainly south of Brazil, you had some Swedish immigration actually. So it was a very huge immigration. And we lived on agriculture. Agriculture in this snowy, cold country with full of stones. Not so easy. So we switched to education, higher education. We started very early with mandatory education and also free education. Independent of if you were rich and poor, it was almost the same. I let it say. I think that has been was the background of the Swedish success in some way, I think. So education is of course very important. But it's also nice to show that we, on the same time that we had an economical growth, also succeeded to keep a clean environment. So actually, we had Stockholm 1972, 20 years before Rio 92. This was the first conference related to environment. So it was very special. The state made subsidized the hydropower to start to use we have a lot of rivers, not as big as you have, but many. So roughly half of the Swedish energy, electrical energy is from hydropower. Half. 40% is nuclear.
Is there a tendency to change nuclear energy in Sweden like in Germany?
We will not close it, but we don't build any new ones. So we are actually, nuclear power today have difficulties to survive on the market. So new investments are very expensive. So some people have shown that it's more, you will have a better payback to do it in eolic than in nuclear. So I think nuclear power will disappear. But I think it will disappear, at least in Sweden.
Okay.
But maybe, of course, Sweden have other opportunities, I would say, the eolic and hydropower. But also, I will say that biofuel can take a big part.
Thank you.
Actually, we had the tendency to, for that time, as I said, we had mainly agriculture. But today it's 3% that work with agriculture. But they produce more. But we, of course, we are dependent on importing some food. We actually sell Brazilian filet in Sweden and lime. And of course, something that was good for Sweden, I think we was never a part of the Second World War. So we stayed outside the Second World War. And of course, that gave us a big opportunity too. Otherwise, Sweden is a clean country. This was a little bit amazing. This was from Björk, Borås, Suécia.
You.
From
Go ahead.
from our city. Started to, did I do now?
We need to go back.
Yeah.
They actually compared with a dirty city in Europe, Neapel. So Borås was the clean example and Neapel was the dirty example. And this is also a little bit special from Sweden. We are actually leading the zero waste movement. So we have less than 1% that goes for landfilling. We don't use landfill anymore in Sweden. Less than 1%. In Borås, 0.4% goes for landfill. 99.6% is recycled in some way. And of course, this is what the world have to do.
Pessoal, vocês podem fazer perguntas também, não é palestra, não, sinta-se à vontade.
Something that you want to ask about Sweden? We have also a good soccer player, Ibrahimovic.
It's a curiosity. What about the Vikings culture?
The Viking culture.
Yes, some guys still.
Yeah, some guys still admire them and put the horn on them on the head. I think it's a relatively important part of our history in some way, I think. And Sweden likes to travel, I think so. Maybe there is in the genes in somewhere, but of course, it's more a romantic view. We studied in the school, but of course you have some people that are crazy. But
Do you guys have a holiday or something like that?
yeah, we have a.
Event?
We have actually, we have a very huge difference between summer and winter, as we said. So the Sweden is mainly totally closed in July. When we have warm weather and light until 11, then it's nice. So this frustrates me a little bit when I'm here. It's like good Swedish summer day, but the sun ends with 5, 6. then I expect 3 hours or more in my feeling. Of course, I knew that it is so, but it's strange. It's dark. Sweden is very slow. The night arrives, the sun is like that, and for you, the sun is like that. So it's very, very slow when the sun goes down. It's maybe 1-2 hours when it starts to become a little bit dark, and up in the north, when you have noon, the sun is like that, a little bit above, all the time, not up there. So this is programmed in some way. Yes, please. Oh.
I just want to know, I read some time ago that the welfare state of Sweden was slowing down the economic vitality of Sweden, and that they were somehow thinking of reducing this welfare state. Have you heard about something like that?
We have actually survived relatively well in this economic crisis. Not very good, but not very bad. But we have we have no inflation. So the inflation is 0. And this is not good for the economy either. It's not good to have a high inflation, but it's not good to have 0. So our national bank have put the rate for the other banks to minus 0.25. So when the banking or to put bank in the National Bank of Sweden, they have to pay. No, we don't want your money. Please send them to consumption. This is actually the situation today. They want to increase the consumption, but this is difficult too. A little bit like in Japan, it is today in Sweden. You don't get they survive fairly well, the Swedish people, but no inflation and a too high rate of employment. And they really don't know what to handle it, so therefore they try to reduce the rate below 0. So when we put in money in the banking system, they don't give us minus until now, but it's 0. So when they keep my money, but they don't pay me anything to let the money be there.
Professor, talking about this part of the presentation,
Yeah.
about the cleanest country,
Yeah.
one of the most clean of the world. How does Sweden take care of the trash produced in electronics and organics?
Yeah. If you look on electronics are actually in the market today. So some companies pay to take care of the electronics. After they mineralize it, for example, to copper, gold, etc., etc. And there are some research made. Earth metals is still a problem, but we are doing a lot of research to also take care of the earth metals that's needed for electronics. But as an example, we have a Swedish company called Boliden, and Boliden is a mining company that has a long Swedish history. They have been in the stock market for a long time, and I think it's more or less 100 years old. Today they produce 75% of the gold from electronic waste, and 25% is coming from the ground. So they are going with good money. They do it just to be environmental friendly. They do it to earn money too, and that is important to say. So it's good business to be environmental friendly too. Not for all components, of course. Mercury is a problem, but if you look on mercury lamps, then we have an industry that take care of the mercury from the mercury lamps, so that we can keep the mercury safe from the environment. But in that case, it's not a good economy. So therefore, there is a tax of those that produce it, so we can recover it. Concerning organics, I will do a small presentation later on about the Swedish system after this. First I will talk a little bit about LCA. After I will also talk about how we use the residues. But if we look on the organics, today we mainly send it to biogas. To produce biogas and on the same time to produce biofertilizer. You will have two outputs. One output that will be the biogas, that in our city we upgrade the biogas to vehicle fuel. So it's mainly methane gas. Biogas is mainly methane gas.
Yes.
And natural gas is also mainly methane gas. So we upgrade it. So all buses are run by biogas in our city. All buses, all city buses.
And is that a very expensive process to produce biogas?
Biogas is not so cheap, I would say. They are roughly going around. They don't earn money, but they don't spend too much money. But to use the dry fraction of organic is a good economy. So we thought in a dry fraction and we thought in a wet fraction. The wet fraction goes for the biogas. The dry fraction has a good heat value. It's equal to wood chips. And this dry fraction we use to produce electricity and heat. We have a need of heat, but we can also produce cooling. Yes, so you don't have to use this electrical driven. So by heating some material, you can have a distance absorption process. And this distance absorption process we use. So we produce distance cooling that we use. We have our, of course, we have supermarkets, computer rooms that need cooling. And this we don't do by air condition. Instead we use it by distance cooling, where we use heat to recover the material, the absorbed material that circulate. So we have pipes in the ground that both transport chill and heat. So our cities, it's not dangerous to live in Sweden. It's 25 or 22 inside the houses, even winter time. I was in Bento Gonçalves at the university winter side. All had a lot of clothes. It was maybe 10 degrees. It's not the same situation. So this is by distance. Any further questions?
Those Sweden have carbon credits policies.
Yeah.
How kind of policy?
Actually, it's a tax on carbon dioxide. Mainly they buy this tax on carbon dioxide. We have some, there are some, this transfer of carbon credit worldwide, but this is not functioning so well today. Maybe depending on the economical crisis. I think it's a good idea to have a market on carbon credits, so we can do. I think you will have the best result. We shall put money where the best result is. So if we have a market, I think it's good. But maybe there is wrong price or something. Today is unfortunately not functioning very well. But carbon dioxide tax, I think, is good to switch to more sustainable fuel. Any more? I will talk a little bit about our waste management system in the lecture further on. This is actually how Borås changed. It took mainly 20 years to receive zero waste, zero landfill. This is something that we will discuss a little bit. Is this good or bad? It's a huge discussion here, I know. Roughly 30% are recycled, 30 goes for biogas, and 40 for incineration. This is a tool that is called life cycle assessment. Have someone heard about it? Ciclo de vida. It's actually a method to all products, of course, has a credit, and as well they have a grade to disposal. And in some way, of course, the product is responsible for all the pollution that exists from the cradle where the raw material is extracted to the grade, the disposal. In some way, the product is responsible for it. And therefore, people start to develop this life cycle assessment tool. So this LCA methodology studied the environmental effects of a product during its whole life cycle. From the cradle, where the raw materials are extracted from the natural resources, through production and use to its grade, to disposal. The strength of LCA is therefore that it studies the whole product system. As an example, if this is the production unit, you maybe have very strict laws, very good control, but maybe you don't care about the mining. Why shall you put this mining is made for this product? And although maybe you put a lot of effort to make this clean, and you skip the mining process. Or maybe you don't take care of the landfill. You put a lot of things on landfill and you keep this clean. And maybe the best effect is to put more money there and there to make the nature more clean, not to put more there. So the thing is to find out, if you look on one life cycle, so where the environmental problems occur in the total life chain. So the strength of LCA is that it studies the whole product system. And LCA is also a useful tool in eco-design. When you are thinking about the product, on the same time you can think about how to recycle it and how to reuse. And you can also think, what can we do concerning transports, etc., etc. already when you start to thinking about your product. Which raw material is the best, etc., etc. So LCA is useful with eco-design. For example, Volvo and some SKF and some big Swedish companies use LCA interactively when they create a new product. So it's used in construction. So, if we use LCA in a good way, it will enable us to avoid the sub-optimization that may result if only a few processes are focused. The results of LCA are related to the function of the product. This is very important. If we look on a plastic cup or a cup of glass, is it any similarity between a cup of glass and a plastic cup? They are used for drinking. This the function is to be used for drinking. But this seems to be very, very clear. But when we look into detail, what we have to define, if I shall compare which is the best for environment, plastic or glass? But we do not know. It depends on so many things. I think you are right. But if we shall compare, we have to look on the life cycle. For example, if you look on plastics, for example, this plastic cup that we use there, probably we use just one time. And this we use many times. But we have to think about what we do after. If I recycle the plastics, we can maybe get another result. If I make energy recovery of the plastics, I maybe can get another result. And of course, we don't know which effect does the washing have. We use a lot of water during the washing process, and we use a lot of detergents. I also think that glass is better, but to be sure, we have to put a number on it. And in this case, if I compare the life cycle of the plastic cups with the life cycle of the glass, I can get a number, and I can more clearly, and I also can calculate how much greenhouse effect is caused by the glass and by the plastics. So I can have a number of the greenhouse effect, as an example, or human health, or some other things. So the results of LCA are related to the function of the product, in this case, drinking. But it can be transports, software, hardware, or processed materials. LCA is an engineering tool. It's used for eco-design, as an example. We calculate a lot. But it's also multidisciplinary, due to the fact that LCA also studies the impact of the natural environment. Here we have carbon dioxide emission, we have maybe sulfur dioxide emission, we have emission of other things. We have input of oil, input of electricity in all process. We have those outputs and inputs. What I will do in the life cycle assessment study, I will summarize all emissions that have an effect of the greenhouse, as an example. All use of resources. So I will have a sum of oil, sum of carbon dioxide equivalents. And what is carbon dioxide equivalence? Carbon dioxide equivalence contains also other emissions that has an effect. But if we look on methane gas, it's roughly 20 times more than carbon dioxide. And then we can have a number of greenhouse effect for this production chain. And all of natural resources as well. So this is a figure containing building. What are we doing when we build houses? Probably there is one sign to go back. You have to find out. I'm training myself. I never do this.
Can you try to swim?
Huh?
Swim?
Maybe like an apple, a little bit. Two in
You can try.
2 fingers.
You can try. Now, try now.
When I shall switch right now. So we have raw material, construction material, use, maintenance, demolition, recycling. All things. From the cradle to the ground. We start with raw material, is end with recycling or some type of disposal. We need resources and we have emissions. That's the idea. Land usage, emissions, extraction of raw materials.
Discovery and new thing.
This was amazing. Fantastic, the new technology. So to summarize, LCA established the whole product system from the cradle where the raw material are extracted, from the natural resources, through production and use, to the graded resources. That's the general idea. And this seems to be relatively simple. And in one way it is. But the first thing that we have to think about is the function. All result of the LSA is related to the function. And if I shall start to calculate, I would like to compare two different detergents, A and B. And I want to choose the one that is the most environmental friendly. And I really don't just want to look at the production. I really want to check the whole life chain with everything. I don't care what it is at this moment, but I really want to check which is the best. What shall I choose? Can I choose 1 kilogram as the functional unit? Can I start to calculate 1 kilogram here and 1 kilogram here? Is this fair?
No.
Why is this not fair to take 1 kilogram?
Because it's the function that you need to be focused on.
You have to focus on the function.
So-
Maybe A is much better. You maybe just need 1 deciliter of A.
So
And-
1 kilogram of one can make the same with less of the other. So
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, maybe you can 1 kilogram of A and 50 grams of B could maybe do the same result. So if I compare 1 kilogram with 1 kilogram, of course, it can be a very unfair result. And of course, the same with the volume. But if I choose 1 kilogram of clean laundry, detergents is, the function is to clean laundries, like glasses or to make it possible to drink. We have to think about the function. Then it's fair. 1 kilogram of clean laundry. 1 kilogram of clean laundry. In this case, maybe you need 0.2 kilogram and maybe 0.10 kilograms. Then we can start to calculate and to relate all emissions to 0.2 kilograms and all resources to 0.2 kilograms. So therefore, it's very critical to think which is the real function. And if of course we are thinking a little bit more deep, of course we understand this is the function. To clean laundry, 1 kilogram of clean laundry. Then I can see how much detergent is needed to get 1 kilogram of clean laundry in these two cases. And then I make mass balances, energy balances. Then it's calculation. Then it's a calculation for all emissions and all inputs. And then I will have a result. For example, this will maybe create 30 kilogram carbon equivalents per functional unit. And maybe this one maybe 50 kilogram carbon dioxide equivalents per functional unit. Then I can see that this detergent has a bigger impact on the greenhouse effect than the other.
Can we do a break now?
Can take the next last. How to compare wood floor with PVC floor or ceramic floor. What's the function?
Cover
To cover the ground.
Yeah.
And then we can choose, for example, 1 square meter. 1 square meter of floor. But is this enough?
No.
We have to think about also time, year, depending on that we have different lifetime on different floors. Maybe the wood floor during 5 years has to be refurbished or something. So sometimes we have to include the time also. Floor and year, 1 square meter and year. So in 10 years, if we look on 10 years, maybe you have to change the PVC 2 times, and the floor maybe you can keep, but you have to refresh it in some way. Okay, we take a break.